Have you ever thought about having unintentional mood lighting? Because that's me today. The light in my room actually just like went out, so now it's like weirdly orange. And yeah, that's how this video is going to be. Is going to be very orange coded for some reason. Hello everybody, this is That Manga Dude, and welcome to a good old-fashioned reading log for the month of January of 2024. This was an insane month for reading. I read a total of 66 different volumes, one of them being a French comic, I believe. So really fun, really amazing. It was like a ton of fun to do all this stuff and to read all of it. So it's gonna be really fun to kind of talk about it again, give my opinion on stuff. So yeah, let's get started right now. Thank you guys so much for your support. Let's go. Alright, so the first manga that I read in January of 2024, aka the first manga I read in all of 2024, is Like a Butterfly, Volume 4, from Sue Morishita. Yeah, so I decided to read this volume and I enjoyed it. This series is like always like a light, fluffy read. I read it, I'm not expecting like super deep or something that's gonna change my brain chemistry or whatever, but it's cute, it's fun, the art is always nice, which is, you know, appreciated. So yeah, that's about as much as I can say about it, and yeah, I think it's pretty good. Alright, up next, I decided to read the first volume of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Part 2, Battle Tendency. This is the introduction of Joseph Joestar, which is, I would say, a lot of people's favorite Joestar. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I know who my favorite is, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, this was a very good first volume for this part. Part 2 is actually started off with a bang. Absolute crazy stuff just happens throughout this volume. I can't even say it because I know that this video would get like demonetized. So let's just say there are some bad people from the good old-fashioned 1930s Germany to 1940s Germany in this. That's, I think, the best way I could put it. But yeah, this was a really fun volume. Joseph's an awesome character, and I think this is a great start to a part that I've actually have never consumed before. So can't wait to get more into it and see what everyone talks about this part a lot. Alright, up next, I decided to read the first volume of Marriage Toxin. So I've already talked about this in my FVI for January 2024, but just to give a good old-fashioned TLDR, this is a very funny, fun action series, honestly. The plot's kind of wacky and stupid, the writing is hilarious, and kind of sentimental and heartfelt sometimes, so that's like cool to see. But overall, yeah, it's a very funny shonen series, and I will definitely be reading it as it keeps coming out. But yeah, absolutely hilarious. The art's great, and yeah, this has a really cool cover and spine, just as like a heads up. I really like black and pink, and you can't really tell that it's pink. I guess you kind of can, but overall, yeah, this was a really good first volume. Alright, up next, I decided to read the 6th volume of Dandan from Yukinobu Tatsu. Yeah, another just absolutely wacky one. This one is definitely wackier than Marriage Toxin, but it's still absolutely fantastic. I love where this is going. I love how this arc ends. I don't even know if I guess you could consider it the end of the arc. But we actually get more context in this guy, and we find out that we have a Ranma-esque transformation, which you can always love. Overall, love this volume, love this series, so happy to have read it. Alright, up next, just as like a random note, I read a lot of volume 1s, so there's going to be a lot of like fresh opinions on this this specific video, so this one might get a little bit long. Anyways, I read the first omnibus of Kokos Basketball. This is volumes 1 and 2 from Tadatoshi Fujimaki. This is the acclaimed basketball manga featuring Kuroko here, who's part of like the Miracle Generation, part of these like basketball players who are all like the best of the best, unlike anybody they've ever seen. And yeah, everyone wonders who this guy is because he says he's a part of it, but like he kind of sucks at basketball in a way. But his like special skill is that because he's like so invisible, he can move the ball around quickly and fast so that his team can score easily. So yeah, it's about his story and another guy, I think it's this guy here, and like their story as they grow together, kind of like a Kageyama Hinata thing, like that Haikyuu has. I don't know why his blanket's so hard. That's my favorite sports series. But yeah, it's very enjoyable, honestly. I thought this was going to be a little bit more ridiculous. I felt like this was going to be closer to Prince of Tennis, which, if you don't know, I'm not like the biggest fan of Prince of Tennis. I still find it very enjoyable. I just think it's a little bit too ridiculous for me. But I think this one is like that perfect mix where like it's a little bit ridiculous, but not like overly impossibly stupid. So overall, I did actually very much enjoy this, and I'm really excited to keep reading this one. Alright, up next, I decided to read the next volume of Koopa Won't Let Me Be Invisible from Nana Yukimori. This is volume 11, and it feels like we're getting really close to the climax of this friendship/relationship, so hopefully somebody says something because not that I'm getting tired of it. I still think they're very adorable, they're very cute, but I'm just like, man, I just want something to happen already. But yeah, this is a fun series. If you like a cute shonen rom-com series about a quiet boy and a kind of like social girl, then yeah, definitely check this one out. It's pretty fun. Alright, up next, I decided to read the first volume of Comic Party from Sekihiko Inui. This was absolutely crazy. What a wacky manga. Basically follows this dude who was gonna get into art college, and then I guess he drops because he wants to create manga/comics. So he creates his first comic and starts to sell at the big comic-ette. And he meets a quirky cast of characters, is the nicest way to put it. And it's about him growing as an artist and as a comic artist among these people. It's crazy, it's wacky, it's weird, it's aged weirdly in a lot of spots, but overall, I don't know, I'm having a pretty good time with it. It has a very old school, classic 90s style with the giant eyeballs, but I don't know, it's kind of charming. It's funny to go back to this kind of stuff because I used to really not like this art style, but I think I've kind of looked past it in a way where it's kind of like charming in a nostalgic kind of way, so yeah, overall, it's pretty enjoyable, and I will definitely keep reading on this one. Alright, up next, I read the absolute gigantic chungus that is Innocent, Omnibus 1 from Shinichi Sakamoto, who is the famed mangaka behind The Climber, as well as, I'm blanking, DRCL, Midnight Children, which is the one from Viz coming out right now. But yeah, this one focuses on the story of an actual person, funny enough, who was a famed executioner in the times of the French Revolution and after. Yeah, it's about his story of becoming that and his like his weird feelings towards executions in general and kind of like the hypocrisy of it all. Yeah, it delves into a variety of themes. It is extremely gory, just as a heads up. It's really gory. It's very dark, very sad in a lot of ways. It's definitely something. I won't say that I necessarily enjoyed it, but I did find it to be a very interesting read across the board. I think it's pretty good if you like a historical series that has obviously some fictional elements just to make it a little bit spicier, then I would say definitely check this out. Alright, up next, on a lighter note, I read Kon Shuffle Volume 1 from Kakifly. So this is like, I won't say, it's a spin-off series of Kon. It's definitely not a sequel because this series actually takes place parallel to the original series. But yeah, it follows a story about these girls, or one girl who actually went to go see the group from Kon play, I believe in the first or second year, so she gets inspired to create her own band. So yeah, at her school she creates her own pop music club, and it goes from there. It's weird, it's stupid, it's exactly what you'd expect from the Kon artist and author because it's the same person, and yeah, it's fun. I don't know. I really enjoyed Kon, something that I had a great time with last year, so I wanted to read this to see what this like the sequel / spin-off is, and yeah, it's pretty good. Alright, up next, let's drag this over. I read the second volume of Sarai from Masahiro Shibata. This is that one series that I actually picked up a ton of volumes in very recently. I think I have all of it in English now, even though I never finished English. But yeah, this is just a old school like sci-fi action series. I guess dystopian, not really sci-fi. It's like a dystopian action series. It's weird. There's definitely a lot of weird stuff that the writer just loves putting in, which I won't really mention here. It's definitely aged extremely poorly in a lot of spots, but it's still an enjoyable read for the most part. I think the action's still really good. The art is great. Overall, I think it's pretty fun. It's just, yeah, it's definitely something. It's definitely of its time, to say the least. So if you're not the biggest fan of like 90s action stuff, or 90s comedy tropes or stuff like that, or just typical tropes in general from the 90s, I would say definitely stay away from this, because it's got a lot of them and they're not great. Alright, up next, I decided to finish Madori Days. I read volume 7 and 8 from Kazuro Inoue, and yeah, what an ending. I think it was a satisfying ending for the most part. It wasn't obviously my favorite ending in the world. Not that I was expecting anything different. I just have this habit of choosing the wrong girl every time, even though it's in the name. I should have just seen it coming. But, you know, I like to be hopeful. Maybe, you know, somebody will subvert my expectations at some point, and it was not subverted, but that's okay. It's still a pretty decent shonen rom-com series. It's still a fun time. It's kind of goofy, it's kind of stupid, it's kind of strange, and once again, it's another one of its time, but overall, I thought it was pretty fun. It was a good read from start to finish, so ended on a fairly strong note. That's good. Alright, up next, I decided to read the third volume of Diamons of the Shadow Realm from Hiromu Arakawa. So this is the obviously the most recent series from Hiromu Arakawa, who, if you don't know her name, she is the famed eclectic author of Full Metal Alchemist and Silver Spoon and a variety of other things, but those two are her biggest ones. And this is her new big series that people are loving, and I'm enjoying it too. Actually, I think I like it a lot more now than I did when I read Volume 1. I think Volume 3 is a good setup for where we're going into the story. We get a lot more context for the characters, and overall I think it's just a very good volume. Been enjoying this series, so happy to have read this, and will definitely be continuing this one as well. Alright, up next, I decided to read the fourth volume of Welcome to Demon School Aruma-kun from Osamu Nishi, and this volume was crazy! A lot of crazy stuff happens in this one. The school almost gets blown up, which is crazy, which is litty. But our boy Aruma, man, coming to save the day. You know, he's easy to root for, and some crazy stuff happens in this one specifically. I can't remember exactly what it's supposed to be, but it's kind of like a Discover Fest of like all of the clubs. Like they're showing off what they're doing and what they've been doing throughout the school year, and whoever gets the best gets points and stuff like that. So that's basically what's going on in this volume. And wow, what an ending to that, because it was crazy, intense, wild, and that's about as much as I could explain without spoiling it. But overall, this is a very good series. I really enjoyed this volume. Alright, up next, I decided to read the fourth volume of Cinderella Closet from Wakana Yanai. And, what? This volume ended in a way that I never expected it to end. This one might actually subvert my expectations for the first time ever. For the first time in a while for a rom-com series in general. But I'm really happy with where it's going. I actually really like how they touch on the topic of heartbreak and all that kind of stuff. So, overall, a very good volume. Alright, up next, I decided to read the sixth volume of Inu Yasha, or In Your Pasta. And yeah, this introduces the priest guy who is... he's annoying. He's exactly what you'd expect, but overall, I'm still enjoying my read of Inu Yasha. It's still, the action's still really fun, the art is still great. Rumiko Takahashi is in... I wouldn't say in her prime, per se, but she is definitely writing a very enjoyable story up to this point. Alright, up next, I decided to read this very stiff volume of The Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses from Komi Fujichika, and I only say that it's stiff, it's because these prints, look at this, it's like hard as a rock, to say the least. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, this thing is so hard, and I don't like it. Like, look at how it just sits there. It doesn't even need, like, help standing up, which is terrifying. But yeah, still, regardless of that fact, still, I'm enjoying the series. Another shonen rom-com, following the story about this girl who always forgets her glasses and this dude that's madly in love with her, but can't admit his feelings. It's cute, it's funny. Yeah, that's it. I don't know how much to explain these kinds of series when you get further into it, because there's not much to talk about. It's just kind of like little short snippets of what's going on. But looks like we're getting close to a confession, which is great, and hopefully it happens soon. Alright, up next, I decided to read the Bigchungus. Look at this absolute mama jamma. This is Azumanga Daioh. This is the entire series omnibus from Kiyohiko Azuma. And what the heck is this? This series was so weird and hilarious and dumb and like had so many just pointless jokes and yeah, it was something else. This was a chore to read at points, but also an absolute enjoyment at the beginning at certain parts. Overall, I did very much enjoy it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really good in some points. But like I said, it just sometimes it just got really, really slow and it was weird. Just like, man, I just kind of wish these stories would pick up already. And I really don't like Osaka. That's what I'm going to say. But I do really like her. And I do really like her. She's cool. So yeah, I like a quarter of the cast, or 40% of the cast, which I guess is cool. But overall, this was a decent read. It wasn't the best per se, but I did enjoy my read of it. Alright, up next, I decided to read the 14th volume of Soul Eater from Atsushi Okubo, and yes, masterpiece. This is great. Love this series. I am enjoying it. We are in the midst of a massive thing with Arachna, and oh boy, my boy Death the Kid is definitely going through it in this specific volume. That's about as much as I can say, and this was a fantastic volume. I am just licking my chops to read the next one. Alright, up next, I decided to read the 3rd volume of Hellsing from Kota Hirano. I've been reading these as they come out because they come out monthly, and that's lovely. And yeah, the series continues to be awesome. The action is fantastic. It's very dark. It's very moody. It's very gory, very action-like packed. The paneling is great. The story is pretty decent as well. I'm having an easy time reading it this throughout. So overall, yeah, I've been really enjoying it and can't wait for the next volume. Alright, up next, excited to read this one-shot called Line from Yua Kotegawa. And yeah, this one was decent. Basically, it follows the story about this girl who finds a cell phone, and the cell phone's like, hey, someone's gonna go die right now. You should go stop them. And she's like, yeah, no way. And then, lo and behold, it happens. And so this cell phone keeps calling, and he's like, hey, there's someone else who's going to do it in 15 minutes over at blah, blah, blah. Go stop him. So it's about her story and this girl that is, like, watching her, and they have to go stop these things from happening. And it's okay. I don't know. I thought it was fine. The art's decent. Not my favorite thing in the world. The overall story is kind of short and bitter, not necessarily bittersweet, but it just kind of ends. So overall, it was okay read, but not the best thing I've ever read. It was decent. It was kind of what you would expect. It's very predictable, and it just kind of ends, which is always something I'm not the biggest fan of. But overall, yeah, it was okay. It was a decent read. And we are back from our water break. Okay, so up next. Decided to read the 3 volumes of Barakamon. This is volumes 4 through 6. And yeah, I really enjoy this series. This is from Satsuki Yoshino. Follows a story about this guy here. They call him Sensei. I forgot what his real name is because they call him Sensei so often. But basically, he is a calligrapher who moves to the countryside after something bad happens between him and his master / mentor. So he decides to go into like seclusion or whatever, but meets all these country folk and is kind of like acclimating to their culture and stuff like that as he is trying to find his love for making calligraphy. It's a very funny series. It's a really cute slice of life series. There is a ongoing plot with it, even though there is a lot of like slice of life moments. Overall, I am very much enjoying the series. I have read one of their other series before, which is Yoshino something. I forgot what the title. I think it's Yoshino Katsuda or something like that, which is another good series. But I am very much enjoying this one, and I can't wait to read the next couple volumes. Alright, up next, decided to read the next volume of Blue Box that I have. This is volume 8 from Koichi Miura. This is the newest volume, as we all know. And yeah, we're in the middle of the school festival, and we have some shenanigans going on with the play. To say the least. Overall, I'm still very much enjoying it. There is some spice, not necessarily spice in terms of like love VW kind of stuff, but spice in terms of like drama, building up between our three characters here. But overall, very much enjoyed this volume, and I can't wait to read the next one. Alright, up next, I decided to read all of Mobile Suit Gundam 00. This is volumes 1 through 3 from Kozo Omori, Hajime Yatate, and Yoshiyuki Tomino. And yeah, I believe this is all 3 volumes of the original Gundam 00. I know there are a couple other ones that come after, but yeah, this is like, I guess, the main story. Follow the story of this guy right here, which I forgot his name. Oh, Setsuna. Yeah, this one, it was a quite the series, to say the least. It's a very bizarre entrance for me into Mobile Suit Gundam stuff, at least for a full series. But basically it follows the story of like Setsuna and his group, who are basically terrorists is the nicest way to put it, who are going on these missions in order to unite the world, who is currently very split because they feel like, oh, we need to have all this share of the power or whatever. So their goal is to create conflict in order to end conflict. It's very odd, to say the least, but the action's great. The Mobile Suit Gundam designs are sick. I think all of the Gundam designs and all the robot designs in general, I guess the mechs, sorry, are great. I really do enjoy the designs a lot. I do think that some of the lettering could have been better. There are a lot of parts, specifically, actually I can show you right here, I just flashed past one, where the Japanese, like, sound effects cover the English translations, and I don't know why they did that, but they did. And it's throughout this entire series, so I don't know if that's like a Bandai thing or whatever, but yeah, definitely needed a little bit more checking on these ones. But overall, still enjoyed it, still had a fun time. We'll definitely be reading more Mobile Suit Gundam stuff. Alright, up next, I decided to read the first volume of King and Limbo from Ai Tanaka, and wow, this was such a good read. This was fantastic. I loved this a lot. Basically, it follows a story about this dude here, who is a former Navy SEAL, who is joining this team, who is trying to end, like, the sleep, which was, like, the specific sickness that was supposedly eradicated years ago, but has suddenly cropped back up and is spreading like wildfire. So he has to team up with the King in Limbo, this guy here, in order to find out what is going on. So I talked a lot about this in the FBI, but this was a remarkable read. What a great start to January in terms of new releases. This was a really good read, and I loved it. I'm super excited for the next volume, like genuinely, and this will probably be in my tops for the year, to be completely honest. But yeah, overall, great read. Can't wait for the next volume. Alright, up next, read the next 2 volumes of Witch Hat Tellier. I'm officially caught up in the English print, and yeah, this continues to be amazing. Witch Hat Tellier's volumes 10 and 11 are a lot. It's wow, it was hard to read some of these parts. Coco is going through it once again, just always struggling, man. Can't you just get a break? But I love this series. If you haven't read it, you really should. It's worth reading. It's fantastic. Kamome Shirahama has created a fantastic series that you really need to just check out. It's beautiful. It's so much fun. Just go do it now. Alright, up next, I decided to read the next volume of Tokyo Babylon. This is from Clamp, and this is the Clamp Premium Collection. And wow, this series, oh wow, has such fantastic art, so many beautiful moments just throughout the series. The first volume has some great stuff, and the second volume has even better stuff. Wow. I know people have always talked up Clamp, and I was definitely sleeping on them for a long time. And I am a fool, but I am slowly but surely catching up. Tokyo Babylon is great. This is an absolutely gorgeous series with great art, great characters, great story. Overall, fantastic stuff. I can't wait for the next volume. Alright, up next, I read the first volume of Pastel from Toshihiko Kobayashi. So this one is a shonen rom-com. I've been reading a lot of shonen rom-coms for some reason, but basically this follows a story about this dude who is working at his friend's like cabana, restaurant, whatever, and he meets this girl. And yeah, they have a great time. They have a good connection or whatever, and yeah, he says something stupid and she leaves, and he's like, I'm never gonna see her again. I hope I can find her again. And lo and behold, she does find her again, but not in a place that he was expecting. So I don't want to spoil it in case you want to read it, but yeah, overall it was decent. It was okay. I'm not like completely blown away by this or anything. It was a decent shonen rom-com. It has your classic like ecchi moments, but decent art across the board. Yeah, I like the main female lead. She's cool. I don't know how much I like the main male lead though, but overall decent read. Definitely gonna be reading it as we keep going. All right, up next. Whew, decided to read Tokyo These Days from Taiyo Matsumoto. This is volume 1, and this was remarkable. Yeah, this was my favorite manga of the first month. It won my FEI award, and it's just beautiful. It's so good across the board. I was completely sucked in, and I got pretty emotional at many different parts of this specific volume. I already talked about it at length in the FEI, but if you haven't checked this out, you really should. Even if you're not the biggest fan of Taiyo Matsumoto's style, I know it can be a little bit jarring, but this is just an absolutely remarkable read, and it made me feel so many different things about creating and reading manga and finding joy in life. Yeah, this is really good. All right, up next, I decided to read the first 3 volumes of Eyes? I think it's Eyes. From Masakazu Katsuda. This is the same manga behind Video Girl AI. And yeah, it follows a story about this dude who really likes this girl, and he finds out this girl has become a model in a magazine where she is in a swimsuit, and he's like, oh my gosh, please stop ogling at her. So he tries to defend her, and there's just a bajillion misunderstandings. It's misunderstanding after misunderstanding after misunderstanding in this series. But it's pretty fun. I don't know, the art style is great. I like the characters a lot. And yeah, it's been very enjoyable, and I don't like these covers very much, but I do like these spine colors, and I do like the cover colors. I just don't like these really rendered out this really rendered out style that Masakazu Katsuda is going for these covers. But yeah, this series is pretty fun, and I'm definitely going to be reading it, and I'm going to finish it at some point. Alright, up next, I decided to read the 5th volume of Dark Gathering. This is from Kenichi Kondo. This is probably my favorite current horror series. Not that there's a lot coming out right now, but this series is awesome. The action is great. The art style is fantastic. The story is actually pretty interesting and is done, I would say, pretty well. And the characters are all creepy and weird in their own little way. This one just has a really, really creepy mission, I don't know what you want to call it, story arc. It's a lot, but wow, really another really good volume, and I am enjoying it still. All right, gotcha. Hioki Tamakoshi, volume 1, another shonen rom-com. Like I said, I was on something this past month. I just was reading shonen rom-coms non-stop, and yeah, this was another decent read. Follows a story about this dude here who really likes this girl, and she goes off on a trip to Hawaii, and when she comes back, she suddenly has an alter ego who is very flirty and is totally getting all over him, and he's like, oh gosh, this is awkward, this is really weird. So she's like, hey, now that you know my secret, you can't tell anyone. So it's about the antics of that happening. Overall, it's a decent rom-com. I don't really know what else I could say about it. Like I've already mentioned with the bajillion other shonen rom-coms that I read. But yeah, this one's fun, and I'll be reading it, continuing on at some point this year. Okay, so next I read Boruto Naruto Next Generations Volume 18 from Masashi Kishimoto and Mikio Ikemoto. Yeah, it's Boruto. I genuinely never know what to say about Boruto other than it's fun, it fills the hole that Naruto fills, but it's not great. I don't really care for like the sci-fi stuff that they keep adding to this series, but whatever, I guess. The plot keeps moving, that's nice. Yeah, that's about as much as I can say about it. Alright, up next, I decided to read this comic. It's called Always Never from Jordi Lefebvre? I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. But this was amazing. This was so awesome. This art is absolutely gorgeous. It's all in color. Absolutely beautiful. And it's told from the end of the story to the beginning. So basically you're learning about this like couple's love story when they're at their oldest and how it all came to be. It is a lovely ride and also very sad, very somber, but also just very enjoyable across the board. I did really enjoy reading this. It was just an awesome read. The art is gorgeous, and it's got some really great panels across the board, even though it's all squares. I did very much enjoy this, and yeah, you should definitely check it out too if you want like a kind of a cute little sad tale of your one true love, or like a love that builds that you can never really act upon. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot, and yeah, you should definitely check it out if you can. All right, up next. Okay. All right. This is Shaman King Flowers, Volume 6 from Hioki Take. This is the last volume of Shaman King Flowers, and wow. This volume. When I finished it, I really was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Like, that's how it ends. Like, are you serious? This ends in the middle of an arc. In the middle of an arc. Like, the arc's not over yet. It just ends. And I come to find out the reason why that happened is because the magazine that it was in at the time just decided to abruptly end. So Shaman King Flowers just ends. And oh my gosh, it was terrible, and I'm pissed. So I hope that Kodansha prints the Shaman King the Superstar, because that is supposed to be the proto-sequel, basically the sequel to this series, because this was bad. This was terrible. This was a horrible ending, and I am mad. I am angry. I am not happy about it. Because we were building up to something that felt like it was going to be really cool, and it doesn't get any closure, and that's really frustrating as a reader. That's probably the most angry or most mad you're going to see me on this channel. Shaman King Flowers has been a roller coaster ride. But overall, yeah, that's it. I don't know what else I can say about this. I'm still peeved about it, to be honest. Alright, next, not as peeved, but Nina the Story Bride, Volume 2 from Rikachi. Wow, this was great. Another really good volume of this series. We get to meet the former king, the grandpa. We get to figure out who is trying to assassinate who. And yeah, it's not what you would expect, and it's, wow, big plot twist in this one. But overall, this was a great volume, and definitely excited to read the third volume. This was a lot to read. Alright, up next, I decided to read the first volume of Diamond Girl. This is from Takanori Yamazaki, and yeah, this was pretty cool. And it sucks that we never got the rest of it. This was a CMX release, and basically it follows a story about this girl who is like basically everything that you'd want in a baseball player. Super fast, super strong, really good throwing, but she does not want to join the baseball team. So the baseball team is trying their best to get her to join, and clearly she has some kind of past with it. But yeah, this was a really good first volume, and it sucks that unfortunately we never got the rest of it. But yeah, I did very much enjoy my read of this, and yeah, if it never comes out, then maybe I'll read it online at some point. But yeah, definitely a great first volume. I actually really enjoyed it. Whew. Okay, up next, Genshiken Volume 6 from Kyo Shimoku. Yeah, I did very much enjoy this series, and I enjoyed this volume. We are finally graduating off the first set of people, which is cool. So now we're with the main guy and everyone else, even though they're still kind of hanging out at the club anyways. But overall, another great volume. Genshiken's is kind of like dumb fun, you know, hanging out with your friends and talking about anime and video games and manga. I don't know, it feels like nostalgic in a way. Even though I never was ever in like an anime club of any sort, definitely my friends and I were kind of like this. So cool to be reading this series, and definitely enjoyed this volume a lot. Alright, up next, I decided to read the third volume of Children of the Sea from Daisuke Igarashi. And yeah, we're definitely getting deep into this one. Absolutely crazy stuff is going on now. The main girl is in the middle of the ocean doing something. But yeah, we get more context about the Children of the Sea themselves, and I'm really enjoying this like series. I really like it. I like the writing a lot. I like Daisuke Igarashi's art style a lot. The color stuff is fantastic. Absolutely gorgeous work. So really excited to be getting the next volume whenever I can find it. Alright, up next, I started to read the first volume of Black Bullet from Marino Hon, I think, Shiden Kanzaki and Saki Ukai. And yeah, this was okay. I thought it was a decent, like, shonen, like, action series. The art's pretty good. The story is pretty generic, but it's not bad. Overall, it's a decent first volume. Not much I can say about it, to be honest, but I will probably be reading it as I keep going. I don't know why I keep saying that, as I keep going. I'm probably going to continue reading it. I should just end it right there. Anyways, I decided to read Satoshi Kon's Opus. So, wow. This was a lot to process, and this is... You could definitely see how this specifically influenced all of Satoshi Kon's future work. All of this mind-bending, kind of like, ooh, my brain! This kind of stuff. But, yeah, this is basically a meta-commentary about this mangaka who is writing his manga, and he's coming to the end of it, and writes an ending for the story, and one of the characters in the story doesn't like that ending, so he steals it, and is like, you're not gonna let me die like this. So the writer gets sucked into his own manga, and he has to attempt to fix everything, because now that the ending has been kind of changed in a way, things are starting to get weird, and the manga is starting to fall apart. So very meta, it's very confusing, but it's very enjoyable. I thought this was great. This actually might be one of my favorite Satoshi Kon works in general, including his movies. But yeah, overall, great stuff. The art is gorgeous as always. Satoshi Kon's like unique storytelling really shines through in manga. I kind of wish he had done more. But yeah, overall, it was great. I really enjoyed this volume. Alright, up next, I decided to read Street Fighter Gaiden volumes 1 and 2 from Mami Ito. And yeah, this is basically just a bunch of snippets of stories about the various Street Fighter characters. If you don't know, I'm like a pretty big Street Fighter fan. I wouldn't say I'm like competitive or anything, but I have played most of the games, and I do very much enjoy them. I think they're really fun. But yeah, these were fine. I liked some of the stories, and some of them I didn't like. I didn't like Fei Long's story because it just doesn't really make sense. Reading it in volume 1 and then he shows up in volume 2 makes more sense if you've read it. But overall, I think the art is really good, and if you like Street Fighter, you should definitely check it out. It's actually pretty cool. Alright, up next, I decided to read Hideo Azuma's Disappearance Diary. This is from Fanfare and Ponent Mon, and yeah, basically it's an autobiographical series following the story of Hideo Azuma, an actual mangaka who I guess just went homeless twice, at least according to the interviews that you can see here. And yeah, it's something. It's really weird to read, I guess. Just across the board, especially because like his wife is just kind of like wondering where the hell he is half the time, and yeah, it's just an interesting read to look into like the mind of a mangaka who decided to go homeless because he just did not want to work anymore. It talks about themes of like overworking and trying to understand yourself, and it's a lot. But overall, I don't know if this was something I should have been reading right now, but overall, I did actually like it. I thought it was pretty good. Alright, up next, I decided to read the 5th volume of A Sign of Affection from Sue Morishita, and yeah, this volume was great, and man, this volume looks way more neon than it actually is, but yeah, a very good volume, a very good series. Has a anime out now, so you can go watch it if you want. But I really like how their relationship is growing and continuing to grow. I love it so much. It's so cute. It's so fluffy. Sue Morishita comes back again like a butterfly, a sign of affection. Mwah, molto bene. So yeah, another good volume. I need to catch up on this soon. Alright, up next. Volume 1, QQ Sweeper, Kyosuke Motomi. I finally got it, so that means I finally read it. And the results? It's good. It's really good, actually. I thought this was a great start to a series. Follows the story of this girl here, who is kind of just like trying to figure herself out. She's kind of homeless, in a way. So she meets this guy here, who is a cleaner or a sweeper, a person who basically cleans up and fixes everything up. And it's about their story together as they discover why he's actually cleaning in the first place. And yeah, it's weird, it's creepy in ways, it's dark, it's sad, it's funny, it's fun. Overall, I actually really liked it. I thought it was a really good first volume. I'm not really giving it justice in terms of describing the story, but I did actually really enjoy this, and I'm really excited to get into the next ones. Alright, up next, Gachiakuta Volume 1 from Kei Urana with graffiti design from Hideyoshi Ando. Yeah, this one was a series a lot of people were hyped up about, and yeah, I read the first volume and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was like the best thing in the world. I don't know how much I like the edginess. It's like a little too edgy for me, especially when he calls people turds. It's like, oh, it's kind of cringe. But the action is great. The art's actually really unique and really fun to look at. Really dynamic across the board. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty good first volume, and I will definitely be picking up the next one. Alright, up next, decided to read 2 volumes of Law of Ueki from Tsubasa Fukuchi. This is volumes 4 and 5, and this is getting into the Roberts 10, I think is what they're called, arc. And yeah, it's getting interesting. Ueki is doing some stuff, and we learn a lot about his backstory, which is kind of interesting. And I'm kind of curious as to how the story is going to continue, because it really feels like we're in Endgame, but the series doesn't end anytime soon, at least where I'm at in the series. So I'm kind of curious as to where it's going to go from here, which is always a good thing. Alright, up next, Shoha Shoten, Volume 4 from Akinari Asakura and Takashi Obata. This is the really fun comedy shonen series that I have been enjoying and having a great time with, and this volume, no less. It is fantastic. The art style, of course, Takashi Obata is always just bringing his A game. I love his work. Not necessarily the writing that is accompanied with it, but I do love his art style. And Akinari Asakura is writing a very compelling story. So yeah, some great things put it together, and I enjoy it. I can't wait for the next volume. Alright, up next, this is the historical fiction series Skyhawk from Jiro Taniguchi. I've never read anything from Jiro Taniguchi, but I know he is an acclaimed author. And yeah, this one follows the story about these 2 Japanese dudes who are living in America during the gold rush era, basically. And yeah, they meet this Native American woman after she's being chased off with her child. And yeah, it's about them basically joining, what's the tribe? It's a very specific tribe, but it's the one that that was at Little Bighorn. So I'm so sorry. I don't know why I forgot the tribe's name, but yeah, super famous thing. Like, it's kind of like interesting to see them interact with like people from actual history, and the art is gorgeous. I really love like the fights. They're very dynamic, very exciting. There's a lot of great movement, just across the board. Really good, making busy seem like interesting to look at. I love the crowd scenes. They're very, very well drawn. So yeah, this was a pretty enjoyable read. I won't say a very, I don't know why I say very. It's a pretty enjoyable read, but I'm definitely interested to see what else Jiro Taniguchi has up his sleeve. Okay, up next, decided to read the first volume of Seven Fates Chakko from Hybe. It was co-produced on Webtoon. I don't know why the creator's not on here, like the name or anything. That's interesting. But yeah, I got this volume in a Easy Press care package, so I decided to read the first volume. And overall, actually, I actually really liked it. I thought it was really fun. The art is gorgeous. I love the color. The color stuff is really great. The action is really fun to watch. The character designs are pretty decent across the board. I don't really know the connection between BTS and the story. I guess the BTS characters are supposed to be like each of like the characters in this. But overall, this was actually a pretty good read. I'm actually interested about the rest of this like collection of Seven Fates stuff. And I'm not just saying that because I got this for free. Like, genuinely, this was actually a pretty fun read. And got me a little bit interested in manhwa. This was my first ever manhwa. I've never read a manhwa before, so we'll definitely be reading the second volume for this when it comes out. Alright, up next, I decided to read Steel of the Celestial Shadows from Daruma Matsuda, with supervision from Toshiki Mizutani and Nobuo Hisayama. And yeah, this was a very, very good read. Another one. January just started off with such a bang. So good. And really enjoyed this volume. I really like the darker elements of it. I love the art style. The art style is gorgeous. Basically follows a story about this samurai who is afraid of metal. And it's explained why. But basically it's about his life. And after a kind of like a run-in with something, and he like kind of passes out, and he sees this woman in his dreams who's like, come with me, and then comes to find out she's trying to marry him. So they end up getting married, and it's about their life together and discovering who this mysterious woman is and why this guy is afraid of metal. It's actually really interesting. There's a lot of interesting supernatural elements to it. The storytelling's fantastic. The art is gorgeous. Definitely go pick it up. It's great. Alright, up next, I decided to read Shortcuts Volume 1 from Usamaru Furuya, and this was super weird. I was expecting anything less from Usamaru Furuya. If you don't know, he's the same manga behind Genkaku Picasso, Lychee Light Club. He also did a version of No Longer Human. And yeah, this is just like basically a huge mix of a variety of like short stories, as the name suggests, just shortcuts. And yeah, some of them are hilarious, others are very stupid, and some of them I just don't get. They're not very funny to me. But overall, it's an interesting read. Very fascinating to read this kind of stuff and just look into the weird mind of a mangaka. It was very strange, but yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. Up next, I decided to read the 28th volume of Komi Can't Communicate from Tomohito Oda, and like I always say with Komi, it's Komi. Alright, next, I decided to read the 6th volume of Shonen Noteboy Soprano from Yuki Kamatani, and the series continues to be fantastic. And this one ends on like the worst way it could end, on like a terrible cliffhanger that I'm just like itching to read the next volume, even though I know it's not coming out anytime soon. But man, I love this series so much. Another one that the art is great. The surrealistic and realistic art style is super fun to look at. I love this series, and I love this volume. I'm like, I'm itching for volume 7 already. Alright, up next, I decided to read the first volume, or I guess the only volume. I don't know why I said the first volume. The only volume of Blue Spring from Taiyo Matsumoto. This is like a short story collection from the famed author Taiyo Matsumoto, who I've already mentioned in this series, who did Tokyo These Days. And yeah, this was interesting. Not my favorite thing that he's written. The short story compilations are just kind of okay. I'm not really connected to anybody. I don't really understand what like the stories are in most of them, but overall it was okay. I mean, it was cool to see like this kind of stuff from Taiyo Matsumoto. I've never really seen a short story collection from him or read anything like it, so yeah, I guess kudos to that. Whew, okay, up next, I read the first volume of Renee from Rumiko Takahashi, another mangaka that I've read this year with Inu Yasha. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed this first volume. It basically follows a story about this girl here who has the ability to see ghosts after a confrontation that happened when she was much younger. Suddenly, she's seeing this dude with red hair, and he's like, how can you see me? I'm kind of a Shinigami, and I'm kind of not. So he's a mysterious boy who is also her classmate, and yeah, it's about their connection and what it all means. It's a pretty good read. I think the art is probably my least favorite part of it. I haven't been the biggest fan of Rumiko Takahashi's current art style. It feels very how to draw manga-like with the pentagon heads, which is a shame. But the storytelling is still there. It's still very enjoyable. So I will definitely be reading this later in the future. And last but not least, for January 2024, Dragon Quest Adventure of Dai. This is Volume 3 from Riku Sanjo, Koji Inada, and Yuji Horii. Yeah, this series is amazing. I love this series so much. I love this print. Probably one of Viz Media's best prints, for sure, because it's got the color pages. And overall, it's just really fun to read. We fight against this guy. His name is Hyuncle. And it's a rather intense fight throughout this entire volume. A lot of like context, and like our main boy Dai learns a lot about himself, about his friends, and yeah, overall very good read. And hopefully Viz Media, Shonen Jump continues to print this series. Ooh, excuse me. Ooh, okay, that is it. I have officially talked about everything. Oh, that was so much. My throat is like dead. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it is very tired. But yeah, what did you read in January 2024? Let me know in the comments below. Did you read anything that I read? I would love to hear what you guys think about these series, or if you're going to pick up any of these series. Yeah, and you know what to do. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe. You can also join my memberships if you want to get these videos a little bit earlier than everybody else. You can do that for a very, very small price. I would really appreciate it if you did. And if you don't, that's totally okay. Thanks for watching regardless. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.